This is the Tokyo Shemp News Network. This is the Thelonious Monk News Network. Okay, here's a fake fight. This is between Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur. Both of them are COINTELPRO. This is pure fake fight. Everything these shows are up to, reading, whatnot, whatever, is fake, scripted. I proved it. The only thing stopping this from going viral is that they own how things are traveling on the internet. My job here in this video is to crop out the eyes and show that Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur were 100% scripted in their fake exposure of Jimmy Dore using a sock puppet. Now it does look like sure proof that Jimmy Dore has a sock puppet. He retweeted something. I saw comments attacking TYT, but none of them did anything but mock. No one explained WTF in regards to some obscure tweet was pro Jimmy Dore. It didn't even mention Dore's last name. This is a thing. This is called a point of departure. If you are conditioned, you're gonna take that as where to look. The target looks where you look. That's from Snowden documents. I don't do it that way. I am deconditioned. There's a similar fake fight from back in the day between, well, there's a lot of them. I've noticed that pattern over years. There's a fake fight between Patarico, who was allies with Breitbart, that crowd, and Glenn Greenwald. This was before Greenwald was extremely famous. I think it was at the beginning. He wasn't big at all. He was sort of getting biggish, but not really that big. And Patarico had this big thing claiming proof that Greenwald was using sock puppets. It was a rabbit hole that never ended, and that's what's going on here between Dore and Cenk Uygur. Dore, we only know about Dore through Cenk Uygur. We only know Cenk Uygur through he was on MSNBC. Now another fake fight that I was thinking about earlier, before I forget, it was between Brad Friedman of Brad Blog with Patarico. They were even on the same podcast one show. This was before the blow up, the fake fights. Independent media is COINTELPRO. Every single one of them. My job in this video right here, I uncovered it with the Kimberlin thing. It was concerning Michael Connell. And even before then, I noticed the Kimberlin thing and who Brett Kimberlin was. I noticed Scott Horton's wife vouching for Brett Kimberlin, saying he had been exonerated. Now, ever since I emerged, my story emerged. Larissa Alexandrovna, raw story, she's gone. Nowhere to be found. If anyone has any questions on the Kimberlin thing, go ahead. Who cares? Stay anonymous. If you're a real good person, stay anonymous. So what if they know you're on the internet? That's my thinking. But my advice to anyone who does participate is maybe learn from my story. Learn not to fall for traps. Learn not to get involved. I'm not saying don't get involved the way I got involved. Well, no, don't get involved the way I got involved. I was the patsy from back in the day. I was one of them, at least. I think my story will become famous, but probably not for well after we're dead. The extent of this is mind-blowing. So my job here in this video is to take from the TYT and to just show that they are scripted. That's all I have to do. You follow their eyes, you slow it down, you do what you gotta do. YouTube allows you to slow it down. You can put them at 0.25 or 0.5 or 0.75, and then you see their eyeballs and or their head moving sideways. So if you can decondition yourself, at least for a little bit, I mentioned this the other day, even if we're still conditioned, if you want to become deconditioned, just keep telling yourself, I am deconditioned. That stubbornness will see it through, and you'll remember who you were as a kid. You'll remember the carefreeness of it. You'll remember the spontaneity and not knowing what's just breathing, being in the moment, that sort of thing. Not a fake, what the medium has told us about be here now. Guided thought meditations, blah. Blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I'm going to have to, note to self, use loudness normalization when I just screamed. Apologies to anyone if there are any videos you watch from my archive and if the sound's bad, I'm really sorry. I've gotten better at this though. So that's basically it for the audio portion. They're scripted. They're scripted to such an extent. They're so dependent on the scripting of it that gave me confidence to just put this right out here as someone who's 100% honest. I'm incapable of lying unless it's as part of a joke. I may withhold what I'm thinking out of respect, or I don't want confrontation. But I don't actually lie. I don't do any lying. Maybe I do a little taking the piss out of someone. That's different. You're just trying a little teasing. You're not trying to manipulate anything. You're just trying to be funny. So, but other than that, I am 100% honest. I'm not mentally ill either. What I have apparently, it's going to take a bit time to get the official. That will be happening probably within a year. There's no rush on that because they're just labels. I just found out that in 2013, before then, the powers that be were claiming the psychiatric or whatever, whoever's doing that stuff, the manual. I think the military is actually behind that DSM manual, but I'm not sure. I know they used to be behind it at least. But anyway, it wasn't until 2013 that the PTBs, finally said someone can have ADHD and autism, both of them. Before 2013, the so-called professionals were claiming you can have one or the other, not both. Long story short, I apparently have both of them. I'm in that category. Thankfully, I don't get depressed. I did get into ruts, but that was only because I was a vulnerable neurodivergent fella back in the proverbial decade back or whatever. Alright, I kind of went on, and that's good because it gives me enough shite to edit and then add to what I'll be cropping out. I probably won't be doing that live commentary on what's being watched, and I'll just put it behind all of this. I mailed these in. I don't care anymore. This is all fake. This is all being managed. All means all. It doesn't mean part of it. It doesn't mean a little bit pregnant. It doesn't mean a little bit. There's Asperger's and there's autism. Everyone's got a little bit of autism in them. No. F you. If you say that and you don't have it. Seriously. With all due sincerity, go F off. So I got the double whammy. Sort of seems to explain. Maybe I'll get into blogging on that someday. But the main point I wanted to hammer in is, how can anyone trust anyone? Who the F is anyone out there to respect and listen to? Who gives an F anymore about the internet? I doubt anyone out there cares anymore. I think it's all fake BS nonsense that no one believes in. At least when I felt the Brad blog and Raw Story and Daily Cost and all that Breitbart, that whole atmosphere back then, at least it was a lot more believable. This was before Snowden, but even back then I was saying how fake and rigged it was. And anyone who came across my comments anywhere back in that day, I started like 2006, 07, I got into the internet. So that's my plan. I want to get this idea out there. I want to continue to get the idea out there that everything is scripted and rigged. It has put them on tilt. They can't get away with it anymore. I'm doing to them what they do to us, and it works. It's pretty damn funny. I'm doing an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I'm doing what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So how they effed with us, I just did it right back at them. Now, the only thing I had to do this was I had to be sure of myself. So that's where the honesty comes in. That's where the proving it comes in. I was in the middle of it. I even have my own personal backstory proving it. They're called one of these bad groups was called Project Vigilant. They're all tied to the hip. All these people are tied to the hip. I don't think we can change it. I don't think we can do anything to overtake them. But I think they should be informed by people who aren't informants that they're junky trash. They're the scum of the earth. They're junky trash. This has nothing to do about having hatred in one's heart. This isn't, you have to turn the other cheek. No, this isn't about lack of empathy. No, this is about having complete empathy and knowing who the true enemies of humanity are. This is knowing exactly what the situation is. The internet is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week trap. These are the front. These are the faces of the military. Cenk, Uygur and Jimmy Dore are COINTELPRO rats. Dun, 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 dun. Dun. The rooms were so much colder then. My father was a soldier then, and times were very hard when I was young. When I was young, smoked my first cigarette at 10, and for girls I had a bad yen, and I had quite a ball when I was young. When I was young, it was more important, pain more painful, laughter much louder. Yeah. When I was young, when I was young, I met my first love at 13. She was brown and I was pretty green, and I learned quite a lot when I was young. When I was young. When I was young, it was more important, pain more painful, laughter much louder. Yeah. When I was young, when I was young, my faith was so much stronger then. I believed in fellow man, and I was so much older then. When I was young, when I was young, when I was young, when I was young, na 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 na. When I